Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
Welcome back to MacBreak Studio. I'm Steve Martin, Mark Spencer, and we're going to be diving into, actually not diving, jumping headlong to Earth.
In motion.
In motion.
In motion. Yeah.
Cosmic zooms?
Yeah, cosmic zooms, yeah. So this is, it's not an original idea, but something that people always want to do. And let me show you an example. So I've just got a little, I'll just press the space bar to do a little preview. This is what we're going to build here in motion. So I'm starting out in space and zooming down into San Francisco, right into Dolores Park. Okay,
that's
so
really cool.
Pretty kind of common thing, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Andrew Kramer runs a site called videocopilot.net.
Right, the After Effects guru.
After Effecks guru, right. So he's done a tutorial on how to do this in After Effects, but the fact is you can do it in motion, and many things that if you've had some After Effects background, you can do in motion as well. Things work a little bit differently, but it's perfectly possible. So I thought I'd show how to do this in motion. The other caveat is, if you're doing something for commercial purposes, don't just go to Google and start grabbing stuff.
Why not? Just go there and grab whatever images you want.
It's not copacetic. It's not legit. So if it's a commercial project, you want to Google Earth, the application, you get the pro version. You can actually create zooms within Google Earth and just have it do it for you. And it's great. You just pay a license. But to play around with it as an example for your personal projects, I thought I'd try to do this because it brings up some very useful concepts also in motion that you can use in other projects. And the first concept I just want to touch on here, I'm in a project, I just have this closest image. Okay, we're up over.
From Google.
Yeah, this happens to be from Google, from Dolores Park. And my image, if I go to the inspector, F1, you see it's 100% scale. So the first concept I want to talk about is something called collapse transformations from After Effects, which basically means if you scale something way down and then scale it way back up again, it can get really pixelated, right?
Yeah.
But in general, if you don't add filters and you don't do anything that calls rasterizing, that won't happen. So for example, this image here is at 100%, but I could drop it down to 1%. And now it's that tiny thing, right?
Is that image large to start with?
No, that was what you saw was what you get. I mean, that was the full size. But now if I select the group that it's contained in, and I select the group and set it to 1,000% or 10,000%,
right?
10,000% times 1% is.
Don't ask me.
Okay, it's 100%. It's 100%.
Okay, good.
So when I hit return, it comes back
at 100%.
At 100%, but also the same resolution. So I didn't lose any resolution, even though I scaled it down to 1% and then scaled it way back up.
Because
motion,
it's in a container.
Yeah, well, motion is smart enough to do the math and say, okay, 1% times 10,000, I'm just going to show it at 100%. It's not actually going to rasterize it at 1% and then blow it back up, right, unless you had a filter put on it, and then it would. And
right,
then you lose all resolution. So without that capability, you couldn't do what we're going to do. So that's kind of a key concept that we're going to take advantage of here. So what I've got here in this project, and I'm going to kind of jump through the projects to give a basic concept.
You kind of have a pre-baked project here with all your layers.
Yeah, a little bit. I've dropped in these layers. Now the thing to understand is each one of these layers, if I select each one, again, to go to the inspector, you can see it's set for 100% size. If I just kind of tap through each layer and keep an eye on the scale, they're all exactly 100%. Okay? So what I did is
they're all in a group too.
They're all in one group, and just so you can see them, because obviously you can't see what these each look like, I just want you to see each layer. See, as I go back, we're zooming out of from very close all the way out to the Earth. Right. Okay, so in fact, to turn those back on, I'll select them all and just do that, and that turns them all at once.
Right.
Many people don't do that. A quick little tip there. So the key is they're all exactly, in this case, 1280 by 720, because I set that up in my screen capture software, and so they all match each other exactly. The other thing about, in fact, with Google, when you zoom in, it zooms in a very specific increments. It gets 50% larger or smaller each time. It basically kind of doubles or cuts in half each time, so we can take advantage of that. So here's the basic process to do this. The whole idea is we want to take each of the bigger ones, each of the smaller ones, and scale them down inside the bigger ones, and scale them down and scale them down and scale them down. So we're going to go way below 1%. I mean, we're going to make this shot here, by the time we're zoomed out to space, is going to be infinitesimally small.
Really small,
yeah,
less than one. I don't see how it can be less than by maybe decimal point.
Oh yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy. So here's what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is select this first one, and I'm going to set its opacity to, actually I'll select this second one, sorry, this first one. Which way do you want to go, first or second? I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to set its opacity to 50% so that we can see the one beneath it.
Right.
And then we need to scale it down to fit within the one beneath it. Now I already know what I actually did. I took pictures at every interval as I zoomed out, but I'm actually using every other picture. So I already know that 25% is going to be the right scale, and that's kind of a cool thing because sometimes you have to scale it down and guess how big to make it, but because I took these shots out of Google at specific intervals, it's 25% is going to work. Yeah. So now I can take this thing and check it out. It's 50% opacity, so I can line it up and match it there. So see how I'll move it away.
I see that, yes.
You can just see how I'm lining up and matching it right with the one below. And in fact, if I now bring its opacity
Would alignment
up,
guides help you there or no?
Not really. But I'm bringing its opacity up to 100%. I'll turn it on and off. And see when I turn it off, it kind of shifts left. I turn it on, shift right. So I'm going to hold Command and tap the right arrow to shift it over a little bit. And that's pretty darn good right there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but so that's what I did, right? I took the closer shot and I shrunk it down to fit it into the next one. So now we're going to repeat that. But to do that, we basically need to do, in After Effects, you would call this parenting, where you take the two things and parent them together. What I'm going to do is select these first two and put them in a group. So I'm going to choose Object,
this motion's
Group.
version of parenting.
Exactly. So now those first two are in a group together, and I'm going to select that group and set its opacity to 50%. And I'm going to set its scale to 25%, exactly. And now I'm going to try to move this over and line it up. Now I'm kind of far away. I'm going to hold down Command Spacebar and zoom in just so I can see what I'm doing a little better, and move this and try to line it up with the next one, right?
I see that.
Let's get it right about there. Looks pretty good. Shift Z to zoom back out. I'll set its opacity back to 50%, to 100%, sorry, and I'll toggle it off. And when I toggle it off, it shifts. Looks like it needs to shift to the left a little bit. So Command left arrow to move it over a little bit. There, and that lines up pretty well.
It lines up very
okay.
well.
So rinse and repeat, right? You just keep this process. So I would select this group and the next image that we just matched into there.
That.
Yeah, I'm going to do Shift Command G, which is a keyboard shortcut to put it in a group, and then close that group. And once again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but I'll set that group to 50%. And I'll set its scale to 25%.
And then match it.
Yeah, and then that needs to match up over here.
It's helpful to find some sort of
some architectural detail. It gets hard here, right?
Yeah, if you're zooming on grass or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be very hard. But here, there's some different things that you can use to line it up. So that's the basic idea. And once you go through and do that whole thing, what you end up with is something that looks like this. Now, I'm going to close the timing thing. We don't need to see it here. I've actually got it all down to the whole Earth in the background, and everything's lined up. And I know it looks a little weird here.
Well, no, the Earth looks kind of cheesy.
Yeah, well, that's the shot of the Earth that I had. Okay, so we'll work with it. You don't have to go all the way to the whole Earth. And this obviously looks weird where it's just kind of plaster, but we'll handle that with some masking. Here's the cool thing. If I hold the Option key down and I click the disclosure triangle, it opens everything up. And this is basically the structure that you end up with, okay? Where everything is kind of nested inside each other, but it doesn't take very long to do. So now
what was the command again for opening, spilling open everything?
Well, for spilling open everything, I just hold the Option key down. So if I don't hold the Option key down now, it stays spilled open, okay? But if I hold the Option key down and close, and then without the Option key I open, it only opens the next one. So Option key either spills them all open, or if they already are, it collapses them all. Super, super useful thing. So check this out. Now that that's done, if I select the overall comp that everything is inside.
The master group, as it were.
Yeah, F1, I'm going to go to the scale and I drag on it. I can start scaling up. The problem is I'm not scaling where I want to go, right? It's scaling into the center, which is where the anchor point is. So really the next step in this process, well, first of all, let's set their scale back to 100, is to move the anchor point for this overall comp where we want it to go. So I'm going to Control click and then choose the anchor point tool. And then I'm going to drag this anchor point. And it's hard to see, right? Like where the heck is it? It's right. I know it's on the West Coast, somewhere around there. A little hard to tell, right? So of the whole process, this is the most kind of thing. It takes a while. So now I'll scale up, and like, okay, oh, I was pretty close, but not quite.
I think you're in.
Right. I was in the
Bernardino County area.
Yeah, I'm sort of a little south, a little east. And notice also, as I'm trying to scale up, I'm already up to, look, I'm at 4,000, 5,000%.
Right.
And I can hold the shift key to scale faster, but still, because it's an exponential scaling, it gets harder and harder. It takes longer and longer to scale. So it's about there. It's off the screen.
Right.
But check this out. I can press Shift V, which will show the full view area outside the canvas.
You can see outside.
So I can see outside it, yeah. So I can sort of pace it better. And then I can, I'm going to hold Shift down and try to zoom up closer. And I'm dragging and dragging. I'm going to show you how to deal with this. Look, I'm up to 87,000%, okay, 90,000%, 120,000%, and I'm starting to get pretty close. I'm going to hold the spacebar down and pan over a little bit. And the spot I want it's right around there. I still can't tell exactly,
right,
but it's pretty close. So check this out. If I now zoom back out, let me set this back to 100%. My whole comp's a little bit off.
It does look off.
Yeah, so I just need to slide the whole thing back into my canvas. So this is the part that takes a minute just to get it completely lined up so that it zooms in correctly, but that allows you to get it where you need it to go. So let's try this now that we've got it this high. And what I'm going to do is, this whole zooming thing is sort of a pain in the neck, right? Because I actually need to scale instead of to 100% to about 40 million% to get all the way zoomed in. So if I, for instance, I'll type in 10 million. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
Okay, so 10 million got me here. Look, I was actually quite close to where I need that anchor point to be. Let's put it right where it needs to be. So that's 10 million, right?
Right.
So it would take you forever dragging to get to 10 million. So let's just reframe this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the idea of using a rig here to do this. So I'm not publishing the Final Cut,
right,
but I'm actually going to use a rig. So rather than try to drag the scale slider or type in values, so actually let me type in now. I'm going to type in 40 million. 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there, that brings me, I'll turn off the outside, that brings me as close as I want to get, right? But 40 million, holy cow. So let's do this. I'm going to choose Object and add a rig. And the reason I'm going to do that, I'm then going to go back to this comp group. I'm going to right click on position or control click. I'm going to say add to rig, add to new slider. Okay, so I'm going to put a new slider, and this slider goes from 0 to 100.
Make it 0 to 40 million.
Well, I don't want to do that. I want to keep it at 0 to 100. So 0 here, and I've added I added position. I really just did that. I don't want to do that. I want to add scale to it.
Yeah, I was wondering about
why?
that. You basically want a slider that goes from 0 to 100, but at 100%, it's at 40 million.
Exactly. Add to rig, add to slider. Exactly. So what I'm going to do, if I select that slider now, when the slider is at 0, I want the comp scale to be 100. And when the slider is all the way over here at 100, I want the comp scale to be 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, zoomed all the way in. So check it out. Now with this slider, I can just drag this thing.
That's a good concept.
Isn't that cool?
Even if you never did this, that's good to know that you can rig something like that.
You can rig it up. Yeah. Now the only thing you might find is in the very first few ticks of that slider, it suddenly jumps. Boom! All of a sudden you're that close. And I moved the slider to 2 out of 100, and it's already got in that. Yeah. So here's how we can handle that. Let's keyframe this to make this animation. Okay, I'll set a keyframe here, and then I'll move to the end of my project, and I'll drag the slider to 100. Okay, so what I've done, if I play this project now, we're zooming in, but you see how, boom, I mean, it does, yeah, and then it's very, very, very slow, right? Yeah. That's not the kind of animation we really want, and the reason is...
It's not a cosmic zoom.
It's just
halt.
It's kind of like it's kind of just like a huge jump at the beginning, and the reason is, if we go to the keyframe editor, I'm sitting Command 8 right here, it's a linear keyframe, but zooming is an exponential type of phenomenon. So the way to fix that, and this is something that's a little bit hidden, like if you go to the little animation menu here and choose interpolation, you've got these different animation methods like Bezier to ease in, ease out, or constant if you want it to say constant and suddenly jump. But we want like an exponential, and like, oh, it's not here, you can't do it. Here's the trick. Let's select these keyframes. And then I'm going to control or right click on one of them, and I get the same menu, but under interpolation we have
exponential
so
and logarithmic.
Whenever
you select the beginning and ending keyframe, you now have a new menu option that wasn't there before?
Well, it's been there in previous versions, but it's not available in the general menu for adjusting your keyframes. You have to right-click on the keyframes themselves. So now if we play this from the very beginning, we will get this nice, like, keeps pushing in, and it looks linear because it's really exponential. It just keeps pushing in all the way to the end. Okay, so we get a nice push in from doing that. So that's really the bulk of it. Now, things are a little messy, but it's easy to fix because, like, see, you can see this line here because there's a difference in contrast. So the way to fix that is really easy. I'm going to option click to open this whole thing up, and basically you're just going to add masking to each of these layers, a nice feathered mask. So I'll go down to these masks.
Mask for every layer?
Yeah, but it's easy and fast to do. Check it out. I'm going to take a circle mask. I'm going to go to the middle of this layer, hold down the option key so it stays in the center, and draw out a mask, not really big. And then let's solo this layer, so we're only looking at it. I'm going to option click on its activation checkbox, and there it is. My mask is looking a little funny there, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of the mask and do that again. So I've got just this layer. Oh, I'm just not so zoomed in close enough on that layer. That's why. So this is really the first layer I want to mask. So I'll take that mask and hold down the option key so it centers it. And then I'm going to feather it out quite a bit. So I'll go to the mask inspector and crank up the feather amount right here. So we get a nice soft edge to bleed into the other guys. So let me option click again on the activation checkbox to just help it blend in with the background. And then I really want pretty much the same thing, so I can option drag that guy onto every single one of these guys, and it will scale up to match them.
So it just matches the scale of the current selection.
Yeah, exactly. It's really super fast. So just drag it onto each one, and you might need some tweaking. You might need a little color correction to really get these to blend in, but this will get you most of the way there. So now, like this one, I need a little color correction on it because it's a totally different contrast. But the other ones now match nicely as I back out.
Right.
And then the Earth one now looks much better. That mask needs a little bit of adjustment right on that last one here.
It was a square before over the Earth.
Yeah, so that's actually, I don't want that one on the Earth. We don't actually need one on the Earth itself. We don't need one there. But this one, that was like that big square, I can just adjust the mask. I'll just do a quick and dirty one there, but we can clean it up and get a little closer. So once you're done all that, and you've animated masked it, you've got something like this, where if I play through it, we look like we're zooming on the Earth and then going closer and closer and coming in on that little center area. And then in the one I showed you, I had a rotation there, but I just added a little rotation keyframes at the beginning end to have it spin in.
Behavior?
I just did it with keyframes. Right. You could turn on recording and go to the very end and just rotate this whole layer. Let's go to the inspector, to properties, and set the rotation to 360. Let's rotate it around a whole time. So do that, and comes in, spins around, and you could have it start to rotate later. You could move this, you say, I don't want it to start rotating till a little bit later, so I'll move this a little later in time. So it zooms in and it starts to rotate a little bit later. But you can do all kinds of things to fool around with it. Another fun thing is to add a parameter behavior to the position so it shakes a little bit as it comes in. So you look like you get some wind resistance as it's coming in. So a lot of other ways a lot of things to take advantage of. But I want to give you the basic idea of how you can set this thing up quickly and create an animation into anything, anywhere in the world.
That's a pretty tweaky tutorial that you just did, I have to admit. I mean, the end result is pretty amazing. If they wanted to try this out, in other words, essentially duplicate that, they can find the images and just play with. Obviously, there's copyright issues, but they can... Yeah,
to play on your own, just go to Google, set up a screen capture. I'm using Snaps Pro to do my screen captures, and I'm setting it exactly 1280 by 720 so that I'm within the range I want, and I don't move that at all. And then in Google, I just click the little top and bottom arrows to zoom in or out, and that gives you exactly doubling or halving the amount each time, which makes it fast and easy to do. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So great tutorial. If you want to learn more about motion and see it from kind of a 30,000 foot, 50
far
up like this, we Motion 5 Complete series. And then by the time you hit Earth, you'll be mastering motion. Thanks, Mark, for showing us this pretty cool cosmic zoom. And we'll see you on the next MacBreak Studio.